All right. Hi, guys. Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining me. We're in Leviticus. We started it last week, and we went through the Olah korvan. I don't even want to refer to an Olah offering. It's a korvan. It's about drawing near to Yehovah with a korvan. Today, we're going to talk about the Minchah. And we're going to use those words regularly. Well, here, let's do the first verse, and we'll be able to talk about those things. It says, they say, this is my New King James, this is what I always teach out of, when anyone offers a grain offering to Yehovah, his offering shall be fine flour, and he shall pour oil on it, and put frankincense on it. Now, when anyone offers it, see, we got to always think about this. If we're talking about anyone, who's anyone? Any man? Any woman? Any man or woman? No, we're talking about men. Men are the only people that are going into this, and we're not even talking about every man. He's either a ger or he's an Ezra, or he doesn't belong in Yehovah's court. Now, we'll see in Isaiah 54, 56, 54, I think, that the Ben Nakar, that's the man who doesn't know anything about Yehovah, that he can repent and start keeping the commandments and the Sabbath, and then he can come into the court. But here's the thing. When that Ben Nakar does that, he becomes a ger. And that's what I just said. The ger and the Ezra are the only two who come into this court. They say grain offering. The word here, there's no offering here. Well, there is. I guess there is grain offering, but it's not necessarily in this order. Here's the Minchah. He comes near. They have offer. It's sometimes easier to go to the Hebrew. He draws near. This is he shall approach. That's the korab. This is the word that we get the no, this is about drawing near. Korab. This is about drawing near. The offering that we translate as offering is this korban. There's lots of different korvans. Olah is a korban. What we're talking about today, Minchah, is a korban. We may get to the shalom, which is also a korban. They're all about drawing near to Yehovah. So korab is about bringing, approaching, but so is korvan. Look at the definition of korvan. Something brought near to the altar. That is a sacrificial present. They love using those religious words, sacrifice. I don't use those words at all. In this case, we're talking about a minchah, or grain offering. In many translations, you're going to see this called a meat offering. Wow, that just introduces so much more confusion as to what exactly we're talking about. This minchah has to do with grain. Here in this verse that we're on, look what it says. It shall be a fine flour. The word that they use for the fine flour is this word here, salath. Flour, chipped flour. It's fine flour. This is brought to Yehovah And we're going to see that only a token portion of it is actually going to go into the fire. The rest goes to the priest. Now, this is interesting because, when Yehovah told us, gave us the 10 commandments, he said that we could create an altar for ourselves. I think he almost commanded us, Israel's seed. He wasn't talking to the ger at this point, to create an altar for themselves. And on it they could offer olah or shalamim offerings. This particular korvan, you have to have a priest, because the priest is the one who's going to receive the vast majority of it. We're going to see today. Here's solet. It says a common noun meaning fine flour. It is used of a grade of flour ground fine from the best part of the wheat grain. This is a voluntary gift. Olah is a voluntary gift. The shalem that we're going to talk about today or next week is a voluntary gift. Let me just read this paragraph. It says the second korban mentioned is the Minchah, or grain offering. This is a bloodless gift of grain in various forms. The grain is brought in the form of fresh grain, roasted grain, crushed grain, or beaten from the head, fine flour, cakes, wafers, or loaves. This offering, this korban, is also offered with oil and incense. Unlike the olah, where the whole gift is placed upon the altar, only a memorial handful of the minchah is placed upon the altar. The rest is given as food for the kohanim, or priests. One and the same, of course. The kohanim are the priests. Aaron's sons. Verse 2. Again, it says he. We're talking about ger or Ezra. He shall bring to Aaron's seed. I should highlight that as being not sons. It is seed. I can show you that it's seed. I don't think I highlighted it in here, but let's just confirm it. I wanted to confirm it. Here it is, seed. B'nai Aaron. Aaron's seed. This is not Aaron's sons. If that was Aaron's sons, it was Benim Aaron. No, this is Aaron's seed. Multiple generations of men that come from Aaron. He shall bring to Aaron's seed the priests. Seed, priests. One of whom shall take from his memorial on the altar a fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. Everywhere where I have highlighted in this dark red are added words. He's taking a portion of it and putting it into the fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. That's what it actually says in the Hebrew. And that's what I have, the words I printed here. The rest of the grain offering shall be Aaron's and his seed. It is most holy to Yehovah. Most holy. I always like seeing these kinds of words when it talks about most holy. It says holy, holy. Kodesh, Kodeshim. It is Kodesh, Kodeshim. From Yehovah's fire. Oh, that's interesting too, when they say made by fire to Yehovah, from Yehovah's fire. There's a portion of it that would go into the fire, but the rest is going to go to the priests. So in a sense, the priests are saving it from Yehovah's fire, and they're going to use it for themselves. Now, they can use it different ways, and that depends on what it actually is being used for by the person who's giving it to Yehovah. Rotherham. Kind of saw that from among the altar flames of Yehovah being saved. And thou, now he's saying thou, shall bring a Minchah. Here, I've got it. Thou shalt bring a korvan Minchah, an offering, a Minchah, Oh no, it's saying and if you bring a korvan Minchah baked in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. You know, they keep talking about the oil being added to it. Is the oil actually poured on the grain before they give it to Yehovah? It's already mixed in with the grain, or does it come separate from the grain? Maybe a container that has the olive oil in it. It's probably olive oil. I don't know. The frankincense that they bring, it says of fine flour, verse 2, of fine flour and oil with all the frankincense. So I don't know if it's mixed together. It seems like it wouldn't be quite as useful if it's mixed together than if it's apart. But I mean, when you cook, you usually tend to use some flour in your some oil in your flour. So maybe they put it in ahead of time. I don't know. Questioning minds want to know. And if you bring a grain offering, a Minchah, a korvan Minchah, baked in the oven, shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. So here's something that's made, a wafer that's made, and then the oil is spread on it. That's why I wonder if maybe it's separate. When we get down to the very bottom of this page, it seems like it is separate, but it's hard to understand in here if it's separate or mixed. We know we're going to bring both. Really, all three. Frankincense is going to come with it as also. He says, if thy Minchah, if thy korvan Minchah is baked in the oven, it shall be of fine flour, unleavened, mixed with oil. So here's something that's going to be, one is baked in the oven. What's the difference? Verse 4 says baked in the oven. This also says baked in the oven. Oh, baked in the pan. This is more like a fried bread. Must be that we're talking about. So again, that we're going to mix it with the oil. You shall break it into pieces. Here, I've got it here on my notes. If the Minchah is in a pan. Oh, and that says thy offering. Yeah, thy offering is Minchah. Verse 6, thou shalt break it in pieces and pour oil on it. So we're still talking about the one that is baked in the pan. We're going to break it in pieces and pour oil on it. It is a Minchah. That's all it says. It is a Minchah. It is a Minchah. That's how they end. Again, it says grain, but if you write grain like they did here in the New King James, it's a little bit confusing because we're talking about something that is fried in the pan, almost like a fried bread. It would appear to me that is being offered. That's the Minchah. If your korvan is a Minchah baked in the covered pan, I guess that's the verse we just did. I'm sorry. You shall bring the Minchah that is made of these things to Yehovah. Now, this is a general statement for all the things we've been talking about so far. You, y'all, shall bring the Minchah that is made of these things to Yehovah. And when it is presented to the priest, we bring it to Yehovah by presenting it to the priest. He shall bring it to the altar. The men, the Ezra or the Ger, don't put anything on the altar. They do not go to the altar. Only the priests are allowed to put anything on the altar. Then the priest shall take from the grain, from the Minchah, a memorial portion and burn it on the altar. A fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. You know, this is all the Olah offering, the Minchah offering they're talking about today, and the Shalem is something that is going to go on the fire. Only the portion of the Shalem is going to go onto the fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. It's always about bringing that sweet aroma up to Yehovah. Verse 10. Oh, I guess I can make this a little bigger. That would help probably. And what is left of the grain offering shall be Aaron's and his seed. It is most holy. Most holy, there it is again, most holy. Kodesh, Kodeshim, there's Kodesh, Kodeshim. From Yehovah's fire. I get saved from Yehovah's fire. It is most holy from Yehovah's fire. No grain offering. None of the Minchahs you bring which ye approach unto Yehovah. I'm putting it in what it actually says in the Hebrew on the right here. None of the Minchah which ye approach unto Yehovah, none leavened, none shall be leavened. For you shall not smoke, burn. The word there that they're using is this word, katar. You shall not katar, y'all shall not katar, any leaven or honey in a fire unto Yehovah. Oh, that's interesting. I can see the leaven, but I'm surprised to see that Yehovah doesn't want honey in his Minchah offering. As for the offering of first fruits, so now we're talking about still Minchah. Remember, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Sunday that falls during the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the day that we bring our first fruits of the barley harvest. That's a Minchah. We're going to give it to the priests. So this is kind of the context of this particular offering that we're bringing. On Shavuot, we're going to bring the first fruits of our wheat harvest. This is again talking about that very same thing. As for the offering, let's see what they use here. As for the offering, as an offering of first fruits, ye shall bring them unto Yehovah, but they shall not come up for a sweet savor on the altar. So none of the first fruits that you're bringing to Yehovah is going to be put into the fire. Not going to be a sweet aroma. They're telling us it's not going to be. Instead, we're going to give it directly to the priests. If we bring them to the priests, we bring them to Yehovah. Remember, the priests, they are in the place of Yehovah on the earth. If we're bringing it to the priest, in a sense, we're talking to Yehovah. That's how important the priest is. Speak to Israel's seed. This is Leviticus 23. Speak to Leviticus 3. This is the sheaf that I was just telling you about. Speak to Israel's seed and say to them, when you come, sorry, I had a call coming in. When you come into the land, which I give to you, when you get in the land, we're not doing this outside of the land, we're doing it in the land, which I give to you, and reap its harvest. Then you shall bring a sheaf of first fruits of your harvest to the priests. Remember, if it goes to the priest, it's going to Yehovah. Here's Numbers 18. And Yehovah spoke to Aaron. Here, I myself have also given you charge of my heave offering and all the holy gifts from Israel's seed. I have given them as a portion to you and your seed, as an ordinance forever. This shall be yours of the most holy things, reserved from the fire. Reserved from the fire. It would have gone in the fire, but it's being reserved from the fire for you. Every offering of theirs, every grain offering, every sin offering, and every trespass offering which they render to me shall be most holy for you and your seed. In a most holy place, you, Aaron and his sons, multiple generations of sons, shall eat it. Every male shall eat it. It shall be holy to you. We'll talk about that when we get to Numbers, but think about this. If they're supposed to eat this meat, it's primarily meat when we're talking about, they say grain offerings, but the sin offering is meat. The trespass offering is meat. You can only eat so much. I guess they eat what they can and they burn it, but now they're full and they're coming home to their families and they've already ate. What do you do? I don't know. Eat it anyway, honey. I made it. I made dinner for you tonight. I don't know. This also is yours, the heave offering and their gifts, all the wave offerings of Israel's seed, korvan. We're talking about korvan, heave korvan, wave korvan. I have given to you and your seed. Now here it says to you. It might be thee, if it says thee, thy sons, thy daughters with thee. An ordinance forever. Everyone who is clean in your house made it. So only the people who aren't clean. If a woman is on her menses, separated from the rest of the family, she's not going to be eating it. All the best oil, all the best of the new wine and grain, their first fruits, which they offer to Yehovah, I have given them to you, to thee. Last one, this is Deuteronomy. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from those who offer a slaughter, whether it be a bull or a sheep, probably his own bull or sheep or goat. They shall give it to the priest, the shoulder, the cheeks, the stomach, the first fruits of your grain and your new wine and your oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep you shall give to him. Okay. So, the priests have to be supported in one way or another. This is one of the ways that we support the priests. We provide the food that they're going to eat as well. That was 12. Here's 13. And every offering of your grain, every korban of your grain, you shall season with salt. Now here we're adding salt to our mixture. Thou shalt not allow the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy grain. Interesting, they would say the salt of the covenant of thy God to be lacking from thy grain. Here it is, the korvan. And every korban of thy Minchah thou shalt season with salt, malak. That's the salt that was being added. Thou shalt not allow the salt of the covenant of thy Elohim to be lacking from thy Minchah. Salt of thy covenant. I put it down here, the salt of thy covenant. Yehovah wants to preserve his covenant with us. Salt is a preservative. Is that why he talks about the salt of the covenant? So that we remember to preserve his covenant amongst us. Maybe it's something that is a reminder when we bring the salt that this is supposed to be something that we're remembering Yehovah's covenant as well. I'm just guessing. Here's the definition. This is probably word study that I pulled this from. A masculine noun designating salt. It was an important condiment, a preservative in ancient times, and a great value in itself for trading and bartering. Salt, salt has multiple uses. If you korvan salt, if you korvan Minchah, if you're Minchah, let's look at it. Korab, if you bring a Minchah, this is what we're talking about here. Then it talks about first fruits. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the Aviv barley again. Here it is. If thou brings a Minchah of thy first fruits to Yehovah, you shall offer for the Minchah of thy first fruits green heads of grain roasted in fire. Roasted in fire. I make popcorn every weekend. So I think, does it pop? What is it? What is that? Roasted in fire. I think it's dried. I put on the side here, we're talking about the Aviv. When he says green heads of grain, all these 4 words, it simply says thy first Aviv first fruits. Thy Aviv first fruits roasted on the fire. Are they roasted? How are they cooked? I think maybe they're dried. They're green heads of grain, and they're being dried on the fire. That would be my guess. It sounds to me that the first of our sheaves of grain are beaten out, roasted, dried by fire, and brought to Yehovah's priest. Then they're going to be preserved more carefully than bringing green heads of grain to the priests. So that makes us think. I always kind of had this picture that we were bringing a sheath as our first fruits during Passover on this particular feast day, first fruits, and they would have to separate the grain, but it appears to me that maybe we're bringing that amount of grain that would be in a sheaf already prepared to be used by the priests, dried out and prepared to be used. That'd be my guess. A couple more verses. And you should put oil on it, lay frankincense on it. So here we have the dried heads of grain. We put oil on it. Now we're putting oil in it, or we're putting oil on it. See, it may be that it's a container that is being put with our grain, our Minchah offerings, and laying incense on it as well. It is a Minchah. No offering. It is a Minchah. It is a Minchah. That's all it says. Actually, I've got the wrong color here. Let me fix this. I always like to be as careful as I can. Since I've looked these up, it helps me so I don't have to look them up again. Last verse. Then the priest shall burn the memorial portion of the beaten grain. Oh, see, now it is beaten grain. So it is beaten grain. We're not bringing sheaves like I always pictured bringing the sheaves. It is a beaten grain and part of its oil with all the frankincense of a fire to Yehovah. Yeah, it seems to me that there is 3 things that we're bringing. I don't think they're necessarily mixed together. Maybe some of them are mixed together. Someday we're going to know. Yehovah is going to raise up certain people in the earth, like he did Moses. And I think they're going to have the kinds of answers to tell us exactly what to expect and how to do these things. Right now, we're not doing Minchahs. We don't have a temple. We don't have a priesthood. We can do the Olah and we can do the Shalem. But that's it. Can't do the Kata'ah. Kata'ah is the sin offering. We'll talk about that in 2 weeks. So I think we're going to go ahead and just stop today. This will be a short one. And we'll talk about the Shalem offering, aka peace offering, aka Thanksgiving offering, next week. All righty. Hey guys, thank you for joining me today, and have a wonderful week. We'll catch you later. Bye now.